Hello, everybody. This is Mike Stubblefield again. It's another episode of the Bluegrass Sports Guys. We're coming close, actually, to our 1-year anniversary. We started this about this time last year. I'll have to take a look and see when our actual start date was. But we're rolling right along. And as with us always is Rob Cross from down in Western Kentucky. David Henley's with us from Oldham County, Kentucky. I'm from Northern Kentucky. And tonight we have another very special guest with us. The great guests just keep churning them out. We just keep pumping them out. Tonight is a Murray State basketball legend. If you follow Murray State basketball at all, you know this fella. He came in to Murray State and following some great success with the former coaches and went to, did you go to 2 NCAA tournaments?
Went to 2, yes. Yes, sir.
Two NCAA tournaments, OVC championships. This is Scott Edgar. So, Coach Edgar, thank you so much for being on with us. And we had a little tutorial today with you and Elaine, and we got you on. So appreciate you taking the time to be with us. This will be a fun episode.
Well, we think we pretty much figured it out how to get front and center, and couldn't be with 3 better guys. So
yeah, well, so this is also one of the very few episodes where all 4 of us come on. You knew Dave for years, and I remember your wife Elaine today said, I was talking to her about David. She said, "Did David tell you that he lived in our basement for however long it was in Pittsburgh?"
Sure did.
he lived there. He lived there for 2 years, and he was just there 2 years. You were there 2 years, right, Coach Henley?
Yep.
2 years.
But they were building the house part of the time, so I lived with Nikita out in Carlinton for a while. Then I moved into the basement.
He coached. He shoveled snow, and
yep.
he was. We have to tell the complete part. He was single then, and my son was young. He said, "Dad, Coach Henley comes and goes in the middle of the night. Where's he? Is he going out to? Is he going out to Denny's or eating dinner, or he's always on the go in the middle of the night?"
I was working out Big Neil Hood, getting a little individual instruction.
Because there wasn't enough middle of the nights to work out Neil Hood.
Coach, tell us about. I know you're from Pittsburgh. Tell us about growing up in Pittsburgh and your basketball background. How'd you get into coaching?
Well, just about all of us at one time, they tell you you're no darn good. You're not going to be a professional, so you better go do something else. No, my whole life it was either baseball or basketball. The wife's the first girlfriend I ever had, so it took me a long time to.
They're asking you about coaching.
Took me a long time to do that. Back then, Western Pennsylvania was. A lot of people don't know that's where the famous Sonny Vaccaro is from. He's the godfather of high school basketball all-star games. And the first game was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That really was the only game. It was the Dapper Dan Roundball Classic. And it was so special as kids. We didn't talk about wanting to be in the NBA. We talked about wanting to play in the Roundball Classic. And he'd bring the top 10 from Pennsylvania against 10 of the top from the United States. Take it downtown to the Civic Arena, 17,000 people. Then he'd have the City League All-Stars in Pittsburgh play what they called the WPIAL, which is the Western Pennsylvania. So basketball was huge. And really a lot of, people think Western Pennsylvania is known for quarterbacks, and there's been some phenomenal quarterbacks come out of there. Namath and Dan Marino and Joe Montana. And I put 14 on Joe one night. Joe tried to play basketball a little bit too. So, uh, but no, coaching wise, my high school 4 years ahead of me was George Carl. And then a few years behind me is Herb Sendick. Then you got down the road, you got John Calipari, you got Sean Miller, you had Skip Prosser. So, like I said, basketball was big, big, big in Western Pennsylvania at that time. And there were guys going to high majors left and right. North Carolina was up there all the time getting guys. Duke was getting guys. Pitt and Duquesne, they were good. So it was a pretty darn good brand of basketball back there then.
Yeah. So your journey led you to the University of Arkansas. So how did you get from Pittsburgh to Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Well, see, played both sports in college. Played baseball and basketball. And my basketball coach, he left after 2 years, and he resurfaced out in New Mexico New Mexico Military Institute. And when I was done with my eligibility, I was really, I had 1 semester left to graduate. I was going to go back and help out with the baseball. And he gave me I kept in touch with him a little bit. His name is Dave Campbell. Kept in touch with him a little bit, and he called and pretty much said, "What are you doing?" I kind of explained, and he said, and I was 21 years old at the time. He said, "Would you be interested in coming out here and being my assistant?" So, like in the blink of an eye, I went from a college kid to 21-year-old working at a military school, doing all this and all that. And I mean, I was so young, and I looked young, and I didn't know at the military school nobody's allowed to walk across the grass. So the second day there, I'm walking across the grass, and somebody hollers at me, "Hey, cadet, get your ass on the concrete." I'm looking around, who's he talking to? So I quickly learned. So anyway, I'm at New Mexico Military Institute, and Nolan Richardson, the same year, he got his first collegiate break at Western Texas College, which was in the same conference. And he dominated his last year there. He was 37-0, won the championship, and the University of Tulsa hired him, and he brought me along with him. I was 24 at this time, to the University of Tulsa, and we spent 5 years there, and then we went to Arkansas. He asked me to come help him at the University of Arkansas. So that's how I got to Arkansas.
Rob, you have any questions?
Yeah, one quick question off of that while you were at Tulsa. Is that where you got to know Eddie Fields?
Yeah.
Who was
He
my first boss in college.
Eddie was a globetrotter. Actually, next to Curly Neal, he was one of the biggest showmen, perimeter showmen they had. Still to this day, he's the fastest player I've ever seen, and that's why they called him Fast Eddie Fields. He was a great player at the University of Oklahoma, and he would come out and do these phenomenal ball handling exhibitions in our camp. One of my duties there was I ran Coach Richardson's camps, and Eddie he'd come over, and he'd put on a half-hour clinic, and then at nighttime he'd come back and play with our guys. And yeah, so that's how I got to know him.
Tell us about so had you been a head coach? Was Murray State your first head coaching job?
Yes, Murray State was my first head coaching opportunity.
Tell us about that. Tell us about moving to Murray and taking over the reins of a program that had had success, like sustained success for, I don't know, probably a decade.
Right.
They'd been to the NCAA tournament. They'd won an NCAA tournament game, and then you're handed the reins. So tell us about your initial thoughts of taking the Murray job.
Well, the summer before, gentleman who worked for Russell Athletics, we at Arkansas, we were the Russell brand. He asked me if I would ever be interested in the Murray State job, which I really didn't know much about that. You know, we're talking about early '90s, and about, I guess I never watched it, but that's when the OVC had the Friday night pajama party ESPN game on.
Yeah, the
That was
midnight
about the only time they'd get on. So I mean, anyways, that summer nothing materialized. Then the next summer, most coaching changes happen in the spring, and this one, the Murray State and South Carolina, happened very, very late. Midsummer, Coach Steve Newton took the South Carolina job. Murray opened, and so I applied. And during the July recruiting period,
Coach, I got a call. 20 seconds. You're good now. You're good.
okay, during the July recruiting period when I was on the road, I was putting two lists together. One Arkansas, because I was still there with Coach Richardson. The other, I'd have some kids with an M beside them in case I'd get blessed enough to get the Murray State job. And it kind of drug on. I didn't get that job. It was either August 3rd or 4th, and we had less than a handful of eligible players. So we had Popeye, we had Scott Sibbles, we had Cedric Gum, and I believe we had Scott Adams. David, correct me if I'm wrong on
Jerry Wilson.
Well, he wasn't coming back. We had to recruit him.
That's right.
Yeah.
He was long gone. They kind of described him as one who was not too motivated. So I asked the question, and I hope to this day it wouldn't hurt Jerry's feelings. I said, well, does he have a drug or an alcohol problem? They said, no, Coach, I don't think he does. I said, well, then I got to get him on back here. I said, is he eligible? They said, well, yeah. So I got to re-recruit him and get him on back here. And he came back, and by the time he was gone, a few years later, Jerry helped the Racers quite a bit. So I'm really happy that he came on back.
Was Montreal there?
And at the same time,
Wasn't Montreal there?
Oh Lord, he was sitting out.
Zeus.
I guess we portaled him. We portaled him from Austin. Well, we portaled him from
Memphis. He was from St. Louis, but he went to Memphis.
Yeah, and Maurice Cannon was finishing up junior college. Another kid down there, one of his teammates, Keelan Lawson, had signed. He did not make it. Matter of fact, Keelan Lawson's son is going to come in next Monday, one of the games that I do for Arkansas Little Rock, and he is a heck of a player. I think his name's Jonathan Lawson. He might come in about 6'8" with a 7'6" wingspan. He's a transfer from Oregon, I believe. And then, Beaumet Walton, he was finding his way to Murray, and Darren Hill he was finishing up in junior college. He came. Played a few games.
I went over.
Hey,
Coach, I don't know if you ever knew this, but Darren, we couldn't get his transcript. So I talked to his JUCO coach, and he said, Coach, they're not going to release his transcript, but he pays $35 for this biology lab fee. Mm-hmm. So I went to Kroger and Murray and got a bought a $35 money transfer, sent it to Kaskaskia College, and got that transcript.
Did
Statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't know that.
I didn't know it. Did Coach Roth reimburse you the
I
35?
don't think anybody knew it except me and whatever Jeff Carling or whatever his name was. The guy.
Yeah.
And we're the only two that knew, and Darren.
Sometimes they put holds on transcripts. So then, I mean, we're just surfing, and we're just surfing. Scott reports that kids available, and two kids came from Coffeyville. One was Raphael Peterson.
Bill.
The other was Jamal Evans. Raphael didn't make it very long. He told me about 2 weeks in. He says, "You're never happy."
Didn't,
I
didn't
said,
he?
when we start practicing better, then I'll be happy. Coach, you never smile. I said, that's okay. Let's start practicing hard, and then I'll smile. And Jamal, he played 1 year, and then at the end of that year, we had to have a little bit of roster management. And
Did we get Craig Gray that same year, or did he come?
we brought in Craig Gray, and the roster management proved to be very, very lucrative for Murray State because we managed that, and that's when number 5 Marcus Brown came in. So if there was not any roster management, there may not have been any Marcus Brown 5 hanging in the rafters.
Tell us about recruiting him. Tell us about that.
Well, see, he's got a very interesting story. Everybody in Murray knows about the Ja Morant episode of a game going on in the front gym, and one of the coaches going to get some Doritos and hearing a ball bouncing in the back gym, and he found Ja Morant. Well, Marcus has a unique story himself. Back then, there really wasn't many AAU teams. Now everybody gets a sweatsuit and calls himself an AAU coach, and here, there, and everywhere. Back then in the state of Arkansas, there was only 2 teams. One was the Lakers, and the top team was the Arkansas Wings. And the Arkansas Wings were made up of Parkview High School, Corliss Williamson, and Marcus Brown. But all of the Parkview kids played, and plus Corliss. So that summer, prior to the senior year, Marcus said to the coach, he said, "Coach, I really want to play. Can I play on the B team?" Well, the coach said, "Yeah, I guess." So he played on the B team, and the A team, the nationals were held in Jonesboro. The A team always played front and center at the Convocation Center in Jonesboro. The B team, and you can ask Kenny Ruff, the B team would always play 15 miles away at some junior high. So we would always kind of, when it was time for the Wings to play, we'd drift out and we'd go 15 miles down to the junior high and watch Marcus play. So other than early on, us and Gene Bartow, Alabama, Birmingham, not a lot of people were really chasing Marcus. He was working at Earl's Hot Biscuits, and Gene's best friend. Gene used to coach in Memphis, so he knew everybody. Gene's best friend owned it, and then when Marcus signed at Murray, somehow his job was eliminated.
Wow.
So I did want.
So, yeah. So I mean, he's, you know how Marcus is. We went to see in the fall. We went to see him practice, and usually at that time, of course, I'm coming out of Arkansas, so I thought I was pretty good myself, and at the end of practice, usually the first thing is you ask somebody if they want to come visit your college and take a closer look. And he pretty much looked at me and said, well, Coach, I'll have to think about that. So, driving, Kenny's driving home, and I'm just shaking. You know how it is, Rob. You've been a head coach, and you go somewhere on a recruiting trip,
Yeah.
and the assistant has it all spiced up.
And then they
And,
say, well, I don't know. Yeah.
yeah, well, I don't know. So that was kind of it, and then we hung in there, and I went to see him play one night, and it it got late, and everybody just shooting free throws back and forth. So I I left with a couple minutes left in the game, and the next day, Marcus, his mom, calls Kenny. I guess Coach don't want Marcus. He didn't stay around for the end of the game, so we had to patch that one up. But the night at Hoopapalooza, I said, real coaching at Murray wasn't all that hard. Just keep Popeye healthy and keep Mrs. Brown happy, and everything would be good.
So I did want to ask you,
Yes.
your first NCAA tournament, and I know the NCAA committee, they like to play games sometimes. It seems as if they do. They paired you against Arkansas. So tell us about that game. Tell us about the emotions playing against Nolan Richardson and your team and how y'all prepared. Just tell us about that.
Well, we had just, when I say we, I'm talking about my family. We had just left, like you said, we had just left Arkansas in August, and then boom, a few months later, they're pairing us against Coach Richardson and the Razorbacks, of whom all the kids I had a huge part in recruiting there. So there's no way to explain how emotional it was for everybody. I mean, even after the game, Oliver Miller, who's deceased now, him, Lee, and Todd, they run into the stands and hug my wife instead of going straight to their locker room. So the TV cameras on that, and I mean, there was just things in that game that had never been seen before or seen after when you put a head coach against one of his assistant coaches. That was a game that you really couldn't write a better script for it. And at that time, you got the two of the hugest, two of the hugest bodies in college.
Yeah.
Of Oliver, who's as skilled as they get, and then you have Popeye, who's only a little bit shorter, and you got big old fat guys just doing things that you never see. They had the greatest of pair of hands, great feet. They could play any position on the floor, and they're matched up against each other, and they're both having great games going back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
So it was just like for the game, I gave Coach a polka dotted towel, and I whispered, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and then afterwards, in the press conference, they asked him what he said. He said that and then he said, "I just hope he knew what my ass right there." So like I said, it was a day that just opened so many people's eyes around the country, and back then, I think CBS was the only people. I think they owned the rights to the NCAA tournament. So anytime a game got close, where an underdog is challenging a heavy favorite, they had the ability, and they'd switch every TV in the country. So the whole country watched a good portion of that game
Yeah,
because we
because
made
you all were really in that game.
yeah,
Really
we made
right
some
up
great
until.
yeah, yeah, we made some great runs. And
I remember.
Coach Henley said, "Let's get in this and let's get in that," and we got in it. And then no, that's as everybody knows, sooner or later talent takes over, and they just last
Yeah,
last
and
7 8 minutes.
you had great talent on that team, but Todd Day, Lee Mayberry, I mean those are how many pros did they have? Everybody in the like six.
They had 5 NBA players on that team,
Right.
plus a Hall of Fame coach.
Can I tell you what
I
I
remember
remember
watching
about
the
that trip?
game.
Can I tell you what I
What's
remember about
that?
that trip?
Go ahead.
So we go into practice the day before the game. So you get an hour, and they put an hour on the clock. So we go into the dressing room.
Can we pause this?
I'll
So
edit it out or whatever.
so we go in the
Go
dressing room,
ahead, Henley.
and the Celtics had been in there the night before, and you could see where they had put athletic tape and a Sharpie, like Bird, McHale, Paris. So I got that. But there's this lady in there vacuuming. She's doing it. Coach walked over and yanked the cord out of the wall. Said, "Get out of here. We got a game tomorrow."
I remember
Oh,
watching that
boy.
game. Of course, it's back then. Games come on during. I was in high school, and I
Yeah.
remember the teacher they put on the game for us to watch during class. I remember watching that one because it was in the afternoon. Tell us about the '95 game against Carolina.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know what? If we played that game at the end of my coaching career, we would have won because I did not give those kids a good enough zone package when North Carolina went zone. And they went zone because they couldn't guard us. They couldn't guard us man to man. But now that team had 5 NBA players also.
Yeah,
They had,
Hall of
they had,
Famers.
they had Stackhouse. They had Rasheed Wallace. I get a kick when you see Rasheed on these things here, and I mean he was like there for a while the Billy Badass of the NBA. I don't know if Draymond Green has surpassed him, but there for the longest, Rasheed led the league in a lot of categories because he was a great player, but also was either in technicals or ejections, and he was a non-factor that day. Now they say his ankle was hurt, but he dressed out. So if you dress out, you got to produce, right, Coach?
Can I?
Right, Coach Cross?
Can
So
No
I got to
doubt.
say one thing.
I tell a
Yeah.
story about that?
The thing about I'm
Yeah.
going to address that. The thing about the game that I remember the most, the difference maker to me was when they put that big Serge Zwicker in.
I know.
He was
No,
7 foot 1, 2, and you just didn't have an answer for him. And then can I
he
ask
was.
you,
Yeah.
Rasheed Wallace was in the game. Were you talking trash about Rasheed Wallace during a free throw?
I might have been. I don't know
Yeah,
why.
he was.
Was I?
Yeah, because he was
Henley,
lined up on the block, and I guess Carolina was shooting a free throw, and he's looking at the bench, pointing at his foot, like his ankle's hurt. And that's when you started yelling at him, "Your foot ain't hurt. Your foot ain't hurt. He just want to come out of the game. Get him out, Dean. Get him out."
Well. I mean, it was. You, you're playing North Carolina and Dean in the establishment when at halftime you tip one in, whether it's good, bad, or not. Once the referees leave the court, everything should be the same.
they waved it off.
They come back and they're over there talking, and I told the coach, I said they're going to go wave that off, and sure enough, they came over and said, "Coach, we made a mistake, and we convened at halftime." And
Of course you did.
you know.
As William Moore got a long rebound and threw it up and went in.
Yeah. Do what?
The restaurant the night before.
Oh, well, the restaurant the night before. I wasn't there, but I verified sources. My guys ended up at the same restaurant as North Carolina, and they're all dressed in their 3-piece suits and eating with a fork and spoon, and I guess appropriately, as they would want to say. And our guys are just in the one Murray State, the only Murray State sweat that we had, or hoodies and this and that. And North Carolina was laughing at them.
Yeah, but everybody had on the same like travel outfit. We didn't look like bums. Yeah, they all came marching through there in a single file line, chin up, chest puffed out, just marched, looked like the Marines.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you, so there's 2 or 3 games that stick out to me during your era at Murray State. One was Austin Peay. They had Bubba Wells tipping at the buzzer. You remember that game?
Yeah, that was the biggest fender bender in the history of Murray, Kentucky.
Yeah.
We're not playing well, and we're down like 11 with 1:13 to go, and everybody's leaving. Then all of a sudden we start fouling a freshman who was his name Joe Sibbett.
Joe Sibbett, who was like a 9 out of 10 free throw shooter. He missed 2 big free throws.
Well, he missed 2 big free throws every time he went. We kept fouling him. So all of a sudden it goes, from 11 to down to down to down. And everybody in Murray slams their brakes on and hits the car in front of them in the ass and turns around and comes on back. And then after the game, and we tipping in at the buzzer, they're saying, "Coach, that's the best game I've ever seen. I never left. I was with you the whole time there." And I felt like saying, "I just saw you 5 minutes ago putting your hat on, cussing, leaving." So like I said, the biggest fender bender day in Murray, Kentucky.
So
We tipped in at the buzzer.
There's that, because I remember in the paper you said, at that point, just do whatever you can, go over the back. If they call it, fine, but you just got to do whatever you can. Just try to get a tip in, and Greg Anderson got the tip in.
He got a hand, and Matt Harris claimed he got a finger on it. So Matt, we're giving both of them credit for the tip in.
Yeah. Another game that sticks out is SEMO on the road, down how many points late?
I think that was 17 with 3 and some change.
I still to this day can't believe down 17 with 3 minutes and change you came back and won that game.
Yeah, neither could Ron Shoemate.
Yeah. I remember him chasing after the officials.
He chased the referees out of Cal Luther chased him out of Race Arena one night. No, Marcus Jones, he made 2 we've moved so many times, I don't know if we have the picture or not, but it has a picture of him making free throws with like only a few seconds left on the clock to secure that victory.
And he just went.
I thought you were going to talk about
right?
the. Pardon me?
Marcus Jones just completely went off at the end of that game.
Yeah. Oh, he could. Bless his heart. He could give you as electrifying a 20 minutes of Murray State basketball ever. Now he couldn't jump like Ja. I don't think anybody can. But I think on the ground, he could do anything Ja could do. Spin,
Coach,
handle.
I played against a lot of players that came through Murray State. Just playing pickup from Steve Newton's crew all the way to this crew. Not this crew this year, but last year's crew. And Marcus Jones is as talented. Take Ja out of the picture. Marcus Jones is as talented as anybody that ever stepped on a basketball court at Murray State, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
bless his heart, he's deceased. But when he
Yes.
was older, I'd say, "Do you ever play anymore?" He said, "Yeah, coach, I played 2 games." He says, "I played the first one to show you I can beat you, and I played the second, and I kicked your ass the second time to show you the first time wasn't a fluke."
Hey, that night at Austin
No,
P, do you remember that night
we
at Austin P in the first half? It was
he had
right.
about 20
It
something.
was right when
Yeah,
he became eligible, and it was in about 10 minutes of play. He was
yeah,
going nuts. And Brett Campbell, I'll never forget him looking down at us and going, "What the hell?" Because it was
yeah.
that was the most impressive 10 minutes of basketball I've ever seen.
Yeah.
He was
So that
out
Well,
of sight.
he pulled another one of those. Remember, he was his first game of eligibility was up at Moorhead over Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And Dick Fick, who was a character himself,
Yeah.
Fick told his assistants, "Now, I want you to check everything. Check this, check everything, and make sure we on our scout report we have everybody who's dressing up for Murray State." Well, we didn't even know we had Marcus, and over Christmas he had to get some hours, and he did, and he showed up. He showed up unannounced, and like you said, David, he went on one of those 7 or 8 minute spurts where he got about 15 or 16 points, and Fick is just looking around. He's he's shaking his head and he's cussing his coaches out because they didn't know who this kid was. So he could score some points. Yeah, he was coming to Arkansas. He was part of that Memphis connection that was coming to Arkansas, and then I think the word is Alabama. That's back when the fancy rims on the cars in the city just started to become popular. His high school coach got some fancy rims, so I think that's what. Matter of fact, we had words the night before my wedding, his high school coach and I, over some things going on with Marcus's recruiting.
tell us about so there 2 other games I remember that year was the game at home versus Memphis
Mm-hmm.
and
Well, yeah.
the game at home versus and I can't remember which game. It snowed and came an ice storm. I think that might have been the Memphis game or the Tennessee State game. But those
Well,
two,
we're talking about year 3,
yeah.
which on paper was probably my best team. The end of that it didn't end as well as we wanted. Um, but anyways, I mean, I disliked Larry Finch. He disliked me. I pretty much kind of just disrupted all the recruiting in Memphis, the pecking order. So it was a game. See, here's the thing: when I first got there, we went to Memphis to play. Okay, they beat us pretty convincingly. He was supposed to come back the next year for some reason, and he still had Anthony Hardaway the second year. For some reason, he wouldn't come back, and somehow he forced to play, that next year. And he had 3 NBA play. He had 3 NBA players. One, David Vaughn, his nephew, 6'10". He had Chris Garner, small point guard. He had Cedric Henderson, a great wing player. And like I said, probably that might have been next to the games that clinch going to the NCAA tournament. Probably my favorite win that we had beating his ass in Racer Arena. So, plus he had some other really good. He had a lot of all-state. He had a kid named Johnny Miller who was the best player in Mississippi on that team. He had Sylvester Ford who played with Vincent Rainey. He was Mr. Basketball. So they had a ton of talent. I tell you another game that was maybe even more dominant. We beat Mississippi in there that year by 19, and they ended up 7-9 in the in the Southeastern Conference, and they only had four worse losses than that. And to give a shout out to this year's Murray team right now, they're playing at the best pace since our era left Murray. They're getting up and down the floor.
Tell us about.
Which I think.
I did want to ask
Yeah,
you.
go ahead.
I did want to ask you about what shaped your coaching style. Pressing, fast paced. Was it Nolan Richardson? That influence? Why is that? Why you like that style of play?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was with him 11 years.
Oh wow.
And I went with him when I was 24 years old. So
okay.
yeah,
I didn't realize you were with him that long.
Yeah, five Tulsa, 6 Arkansas.
Hey, Coach, was he doing that at the junior college before he went to Tulsa?
Oh yeah, they were averaging 100 a game. Yeah.
Coach, do you mind?
Coach,
do you remember recruiting Montrell Dobbins? And can you share that story of Montrell and Tim Floyd?
Oh, gosh. Nobody needs to get sued here.
Well, see that's back when you went and you signed players. Okay, you didn't. Stuff was done hand to hand. No tongue in cheek or no pun intended. Hand to hand. So now they just send stuff electronically or whatever. I don't know. So we went to. We just showed up in Hot Spring. Dobbins had kind of gone back and forth. Kenny Rod did a heck of a job going down there a lot, and
he's from Little Rock,
kid
right?
Had kind of gone back. Pardon me?
Wasn't he from Little Rock?
No, he was from Hot Springs.
Okay.
This was past there, and really back then, the 3 top mid-major programs in the country, of course, were us. The Murray people won't like it, but we have to put Western Kentucky in there because they were legit, and New Orleans, Tim Floyd's New Orleans, and I'd known Tim, a long time before this and all that, and he can recruit with the best of them, and so we both show up there, and Tim's kind of saying all this and saying all that, and I was there, and Ken Roth was there, and Tim had an assistant named Joey Stiving. And now we didn't know at that time, but Joey Stiving was a Golden Glove box champion. So Floyd and I had some pretty heated words. And afterwards, I told Roth that I was going to be okay. I didn't know about you and Joey Stiving with him being a Golden Glove box champion. So Floyd was saying this and that, and I said, "Hey, Floyd, I wouldn't throw stones in a glass house if I were you." So that's kind of the high school coach. He said he'd never seen anything like that before. But I've seen Coach Richardson make guys just tremble on signing date, because a lot of times, just like in Hot Springs, 2 coaches show up. I've seen 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 coaches show up, and I've seen Coach Richardson make guys tremble on signing date.
Coach, I did want to ask you, so
yeah,
what coach, when you saw them on the schedule, you were like, we're going to have our hands full. They're going to be well coached. They're going to, what coach stood out to you as one, like, man, this is going to be a handful every time we play them?
Well, it would have to have been the year 2 when they put us at Indiana in the preseason NIT.
Bob Knight.
plus that was for some reason the idiots that run the NCAA, they moved practice from October 15th back to November 1st.
Hmm.
And see, back then there was no, nowadays you get 6, 8, or 10 hours with your team in the fall and skill development. And back then you could not touch a basketball until the first day of practice.
Couldn't
If you
see him
remember
with the
that,
basketball.
Coach. What is that?
I said couldn't even see him with a basketball in the summer.
Couldn't even see it. Yeah, you couldn't even
Crazy.
see them with the basketball.
And we
So
never
anyway,
watched them.
we had about we never did. So maybe that went with a 35. Did you do that too? Did that go with the 35?
Might have.
35 35 pieces of change? Anyways, I'm at home, relaxing for once, and the staff comes knocking on the door about 10:30 in the morning. It's usually when that happens, usually like somebody did something wrong, and they said, Coach, it's going to come out this afternoon that we're playing and they just come off a national championship with 4 returning starters. They were one in the country, preseason one. Coach, we're playing them in the preseason NIT.
We had a whole new team.
So, pardon me?
We had a whole new team.
Oh, I know. That was year 2. That was the year that we signed anybody we could, and that was and then they all came back year 3, and that was the team that was so dominant.
Was that the year? Was that the year you played Texas? You get Texas to come to Racer Arena. What year was that?
Texas came to Racer Arena, and had Marcus not fouled out, we would have beat them. So yeah, during those 4 years, we had St. Louis in there, we had Texas in there, we had Memphis in there, we had Mississippi in there.
VCU was in that deal. It was Texas,
we had
VCU.
We had Sonny Smith and VCU in there.
Yeah,
they had Kendrick Warren.
Kendrick Warren. Yep.
I remember Texas had a guy named Terrence Rencher.
Terrence Rencher, left-handed kid. Yeah.
Tommy Pender's son was left-handed too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He made some big free throws late, but yeah, I remember going to that game.
That was a very, very good game.
As far as OVC coaches that you would square up against, who were the coaches that really gave you problems?
Carlos Rogers. No, we only lost about 14 conference games, and about 6 were to him.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. See, the way we played, we took the coach out of the game.
Right, it was about players,
and the players had his players had to make plays on the run. So that's what we set out to do. Not let the coach be a factor. Not let the team do the things that they work on every day in practice. So I guess, but if the consensus of opinion was that Dave was a great coach, and Dave can coach. Anybody can coach when they got Bubba Wells. So, I mean, I was a heck of a lot better. I was a heck of a lot better rebounding coach my first year when we had Popeye Jones.
Well, I have one final question for you. Best player you ever coached?
In my career?
Yep.
Well, I'm going to throw a name at you. Probably Lewis Lloyd.
Drake.
Had him in junior college, and then he went to Drake the year before we went to Tulsa, and he was at Drake the year after Larry Bird was at Indiana State. And when he was at Drake, Lewis Lloyd led the country in scoring and rebounding. And then his career, he went to the Houston Rockets when they had Akeem and Ralph Sampson, and there was a couple of games in the Western Conference Finals. That's back when the Lakers had. Well, that was when it was Showtime. They had Kareem and Magic and Byron Scott and Michael Cooper, and Lewis just took over games. But no, I mean I've coached 21 guys that played in the NBA, so I mean they've all had their moments. Some didn't make it there. Some didn't. Like you said, I mean it's you want to put 5 minutes out there and go on a scoring spree. Not many were better than Marcus Jones. So just been blessed to be around a lot of guys that can play.
Coach, I gotta tell
Go
you,
ahead.
and I've told you this on the phone when we spoke before.
Yeah.
So many of my early days of watching basketball was watching your teams play, and even when I started my coaching career, I had a lot of classes in car health, and so I would walk through, and when you guys would be having practice, and it was a free coaches clinic for me, and you weren't up, no one was up there saying you got to get out of here or whatever. So it was I appreciate all that, and so many memories, so many good memories. I brought up the Greg Anderson tip-in game. I remember sitting up right behind the band in Racer Arena with that they always had that door open. It was always cold right up there at the very top. So yeah, I just I appreciate your time
Coach
there
Stubb,
and all the
Coach
memories.
Stubb, let me tell one more
Yeah.
story.
Let me Stubb, you should have come into my life a lot sooner, because they got some horror stories about my practices, and you're talking about the coaching and teaching that's going on instead of just kids puking with their heads in the trash.
Coach Stubb, I got to tell you this one. So I was with Coach for 6 years, and probably the most important thing I ever learned from Coach Edgar was this: we were at VCU, we're getting ready to go play them. We won that night, and we're on a bus, and everybody's on a bus except Coach and Popeye. So Coach comes out first and gets on a bus. It's time to leave. And Coach gets on, and Coach Roth goes, "Coach, Popeye's not on the bus yet." And so Coach goes, "I forgot something in my room." And Coach left and walked back and was gone for about 7-8 minutes. But here comes Popeye. Then after Popeye gets on, here comes Coach. And he said, "Coach, everybody here?" "Yep." "All right, let's go." And I used that one year. I used that one time.
Well, see, that's an old Eddie Robinson and Willis Reed story. A lot of people don't know that, but Eddie Robinson coached basketball at Grambling along with football, and he would sit in his office and smoke his cigar and look out the window. And as soon as Willis got on the bus, then here would come legendary Coach Eddie Robinson. So.
I'll tell you another good story that Henley passes on. Another lesson, not necessarily a story. This lesson is go anywhere for a win.
Oh yeah.
Alcorn State.
Oh yeah. Alcorn. Boy, I tell you what, we probably saw every deer in the state of Mississippi that night, going from Jackson down to Alcorn.
I was getting scared because I didn't know if we were going to find that gym.
I know it got deeper and darker into those woods.
I said, it's just down. It's just down the road a little bit. We're almost there. I said, "Oh God,
It
please."
was it was their first game back after Christmas break, and the poor coach, he's there sweeping the floor and trying to get the lights turned on and just everything. But go anywhere to get a win.
We want to get a win. Well, Coach, I'm going to let you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I appreciate you being on.
Well, it's been a joy to be on with you guys.
Tell Elaine that I appreciate her earlier in the day helping figure this out. And we needed to get on an iPhone apparently. So thank you, Elaine, and yep, and thank you, Coach Edgar. I appreciate you being on, and thanks, Rob and Dave. We'll see you.
Yeah, we need to hook up some more. Okay,
We do.
Do it again.
We'll have you on again. Have a good
we'll
night.
see you.
I still got more
All right,
stories.
good night.
And leave.